But he would say that yes has a vibrational frequency that when we say it, it'll bring things to us. So there you go. So we're singing yes. Perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've got, this is, you guys may remember this one, but it's one of my favorite jokes. Okay. Get out of the car. This is supposedly a true account recorded by the police log of Sarasota, Florida. Okay? An elderly Florida lady did her shopping and upon returning to her car found 4 males in the act of leaving with her vehicle. She dropped her shopping bags and drew her handgun, wow, proceeding to scream at the top of her lungs, "I have a gun and I know how to use it. Get out of the car." The 4 men didn't wait for a second threat. They got out and ran like mad. The lady, somewhat shaken, then proceeded to load her shopping bags into the back of the car and got into the driver's seat. She was so shaken she could not get her key into the ignition. She tried and tried, and then she realized why. It was for the same reason she had wondered why there was a football, a frisbee, and 2 12-packs of beer in the front seat. A few minutes later, she found her own car, parked 4 or 5 spaces further down. She loaded her bags into the car and drove to the police station to report her mistake. The sergeant to whom she told the story wouldn't stop laughing. He pointed to the other end of the counter where 4 pale men were reporting a carjacking by a mad elderly woman described as white, and these guys were black, by the way, less than 5 foot tall, glasses, curly white hair, and carrying a large handgun. No charges were filed. Moral of the story, if you're going to have a senior moment, make it memorable. I'll give you a copy of that one, Miriam. Yeah, everybody, I know, right? Okay, you want a copy too? Okay.
I have a friend in Sarasota.
It's so great. Oh, yes, I know, right? And then I know people are always going, I want a copy of that, Rev. So whenever you want a copy of it, I'll be happy to give it to you. We need a little laughter, and I'll laugh. Well, I had picked this talk title called Seeds of Love, and I didn't realize because as I picked the talk title throughout the week, you know, different things happen, and it kind of fits into what I'm going to talk about. So I was watching yet another interview with the rapper LL Cool J. Do you guys ever watch him on TV? What is it? CSL something? CSI. He's been on there for like 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, what's really cool and why I thought his story fit in is that we always feel that we have, you know, I don't know about you, but I feel like I have the divine blessing me and that I have love surrounding me all the time. And that even when things are kind of dicey, it's like the timing and things will always work out if we just have that belief and faith in God. And they do, you know, because recently, just for myself, I had an investment come through, thank gosh, because my fence blew down, my tenant moved out, I have to give her money back, and then I had something else happen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was perfect timing. And so when we just always know we're protected and guided and taken care of, it really does make a difference in our life because we're holding that vibrational frequency. Well, I forgot my notes, but I remember the story for LL Cool J, and I think he picked the name LL, Ladies Love Me, is what it stands for. And I thought, cool affirmation, right? Because he said he was raised by his grandparents and his mother. And the reason why they had moved in with the grandparents, you know, he was a little kid, like 5 or 6 years old, and his dad at the time was drinking, and he pulled out a gun and he shot the mom, didn't kill her, and shot her dad, the grandfather. And so the mother says, ooh, I'm out of here until you get your anger management under control. And they went off and started living with grandma and grandpa. And what he said is that, you know, he grew up in, I don't remember the city, but anyway, it's the inner city and it wasn't a great place, back east somewhere. And he said that his grandparents were always protecting him and making sure he wasn't going to get into drugs, he wasn't going to get into any of the other things in the neighborhood. And the reason why he said he didn't is that he had his grandfather had a music collection, and he had jazz and all kinds of music, and he said he started listening to all these records, and he said, gosh, I really, really like music. And so he said to his grandparents, because his grandfather used to say, what are you going to do when you get to be like 16 years old? What do you want to do? And he kept asking him and asking him and asking him. So LL said, you know what? I love music. And so they bought him all the recording equipment and all of the instruments in order for him to be able to start creating his music. And at that time, you know, it was just on the edge of all the rap music and the, what did they call it, hip hop, you know, all the things that they were into at that period of time. And so he kept working on it, working on it. And what ended up happening is, he said his grandmother and grandfather, they were so protective. His grandma would drive him to school and make sure and monitor him all the time. The other thing that they did was tell him, you can create and have whatever you want all the time, and say you are powerful, you are amazing, you're intelligent. And can you imagine, I mean, did you all have parents like that? I didn't. You know, so here he has these grandparents that knew that, and his grandfather had served in the army. So he also taught him discipline, and he also said, you just keep going no matter what. And even if it doesn't work, you keep going, because failure is really a way for you to learn how to succeed. If you just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. So I think he was around 13 years old. These guys start young, don't they? Mm-hmm. So he was 13 years old, and he recorded a song, and he was going to work it with this group. And remember, at that time, Public Enemy was real popular, and I'm trying to think of the other groups that were really up and coming at that time. But the guy that produced him was a guy that worked out of his dorm room in college. And so this guy signed all these big rap artists, and he actually produced them out of his dorm room in college. Hello, talk about great. And he was white. Okay, so he got all of these groups, all these young black men, and he empowered them. He got them to record a record, and LLJ, his first one, went #1 right away. It was just very, very popular. So, you know, when you sit there and say Seeds of Love, the seeds of love that he was given by his grandparents was incredible. And then also the encouragement by this producer, you know, in college. It was amazing that that was happening for him. But he said he always had a vision, and he always kept knowing that's what he wanted to do. So with all of us, you know, we have different things in our lives, and we make it a little, I don't know. But I mean, just keep marching, because the Spirit and God will show us exactly what we need and what we can do with our lives next. And you may say, I don't know about that, but what are we really great at? And what can we do and use in order to hone our skills? And I know almost all of you in here, and I know exactly your skills and what you would be great at. Because when we look at what we can use for ourselves, we all have gifts and talents, right? And we've lived a long time. Don't we all have gifts and talents, and that you could utilize them now? Am I right? Mm-hmm. And when we do that, we're able to, because that's really God like knocking at your door saying, hey, you know what? You're really good at this, and you're going to make a difference in the world if you just use this skill. So that's what he did. And he eventually ended up, they signed him to do, what movies has he been in? Do you guys know? I don't even know. Okay, but anyway, I didn't know much about him. But I really like him. He's a nice man. And all he kept saying was that we have to have forgiveness in our life, and we have to use it, because that will also bring more harmony into our lives. And his dad ended up wanting to come back into their lives a little bit later. And this really struck me, because he said, his mother said, I'm not going to press charges. You made a bad decision. And he came back into his life. And because there's so many males that don't have dads, that he said that was a catalyst in order for him to become successful, because his father actually made him realize how important it is to follow your truth and to follow who you are. The other thing he said, and I was thinking about Joanne as he's talking about this, he said there's a lot of young men in the hood or in the inner cities that they'll get involved with drugs and they'll get involved with things like that because it looks like easy money, not knowing that the choice will probably land them in jail. So he said, it's incredible because here these young men have all this, they're entrepreneurial, they're really good, and by the way, Reverend Michael started out that way, and yeah, he did. And then he moved it into creating agape. But yeah, that's what he did initially. And then what he said is that, so these young men are the ones that have drive and they want to move forward in their lives, and they get caught because they made a bad choice, and now they're in jail for the rest of their lives, probably from a young age, right, Joanne?
Yeah.
And they really aren't hardened, horrible criminals. They made wrong decisions. So he was just kind of saying, hey, maybe there's another way to look at these people, men and women, that are incarcerated, that we could use them in society because they have a lot of skills and gifts. And they have some things that would be beneficial. Because they have all these shows about people who get out of jail and they have nowhere to go. And nobody will hire them because they don't trust them. So it's just really something to think about. So Seeds of Love also is about us. And it's about how we can honor and love and respect ourselves. And how do y'all do that? How do you do that? And it's a matter of, let's say if you're tired, make sure you rest. It's different things like that. So what do you want to do as far as loving yourself and creating seeds of love for you? Maybe you didn't have LL's grandparents. Maybe you didn't have somebody that was encouraging you all the time. But how can we create that love around ourselves, right? And shift and have ourselves become more connected. And one way that we can allow ourselves to feel more of that divine love is just to pray and to meditate and to say affirmations. How many of you feel like you have amazing self-esteem that nobody could knock you down? Anybody? Whoa, okay, so there's an affirmation, right? Because I was talking to my tenant, we're cleaning out the place for the new tenant to come move in, and I looked at her and she said, there's a friend of ours that every job she goes to, and this tells you energy, it also speaks to the secret, she goes to a job and she always has problems with the people she works with. So, do you think it's an inside job? And that sometimes, we're being given a little 411 about what we need to do in order to shift? And I never forgot that part in the part of The Secret. How many of you have seen that movie, by the way? Okay, remember the part where he's a gay gentleman and he's working in an office and they're always bugging him, making fun of him, and da-da-da. Finally, he started, I can't remember if he wrote a vision board or he started writing affirmations, one of the two things. And what it happened, all of a sudden the people in that department got moved out of the department, and he was able to get a job. He felt more respected, but it's because he's the one that took that and shifted himself, because we're the ones that have to do that for ourselves. We have to do it. Nobody outside of us. Somebody could say, oh yeah, you're so great, but if you're not feeling it inside, then we're not going to be able to have that come into our lives. So when we feel powerful and strong, so here's how I know I've healed a lot. We were talking and somebody will say something really kind of nasty, and I look at them and I'll say, wow, that was really mean. Did you really mean to say that to me? And it doesn't bother me, but then they'll kind of take a step back and say, oh, I didn't realize I was saying it like that. But when we step into our power, that's giving ourselves seeds of love, yeah? And that's really how it works. So let's think of a wonderful affirmation, all right? And you're going to put this on the back of your door. You can put it on your dashboard. What do you want to know for yourself? How do you want to feel? Did you guys want to speak it out? How do you want to feel? What would be a great affirmation for your self-esteem, your self-worth, right?
I got this.
You got it? I got this?
Yes, I got this. You know, a lot of times, like,
Oh, you mean just to say that?
yeah, just to say that.
That's a great one.
Yeah, I
And
just
it's
say
simple.
that. I got this. This is not beyond me. I'm ready for this task. You know, that's what
I
I
like
tell.
it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's a good catchphrase for Roxy. Okay, how about any of you? What would you, yeah, Diana?
I deserve to be more successful.
Well, not even deserve.
And it's safe for me to be more
Yeah, and you don't even have to say that. I am more successful of the virtue of God. Because
Well, but I
you have to
do
say
get
that?
on my own, the success part, but then the people in my family of origin didn't want me to succeed.
okay, so you just say, I am successful any and everywhere, whatever you need to do. So that's good. But I mean, just to empower yourself. What else do you guys need a little work on? Yeah, Muriel. I accept all the good in my life. Oh, because I remember Art one time when I was first here at the center, and he said, you can't handle good, can you? Because things were going really well, and then I was going, and that's when he said that, and I go, oh, okay, that's a new affirmation for the Rev. And now I say, I accept all the good in my life, and I don't feel like I don't deserve it, I don't feel guilty. What's all the stuff that comes up for us, right? The seeds of love are having those qualities deep embedded in us. I deserve, I'm worthy, I'm lovable, I'm fantastic, I'm smart. All of that is all inside of us, and then when something hits us, whether it's external or somebody from our past or our family, then we can say, no, no, and hell no, that ain't happening. I'm not playing that game, okay? Because I remember I went and saw my mom, this was probably about a year ago, and one of my brothers can be a little snarky brat. And so I said, he started saying stuff, and I looked him in the eye and I said, that's not the truth now, is it? Okay? So you can say that, that's not the truth now, is it? You know, and I didn't get in a fight with him. It was just more like I was present, but he kind of stepped back, and, oh, I'm not going to mess with my sis. Because you know what? When we feel good about ourselves, no matter where we are in the world, we're going to attract that to us. So it's like I said, you know, we create our reality. We create whether we have a car spin out and hit us, or whether that car is a bumper protection and doesn't hit anybody, okay? And that's really the truth. So let's see, what would be another affirmation that would just be, put it someplace where you see it, like maybe in your bathroom. I love myself. How do you feel when you say I love myself?
I love.
Right? Kind of, do you feel like, oh gosh, that's so true? No, not really, right? You really don't, do you?
No, I actually like that.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. How would it be if you really, because LL Cool J, he loves himself. And he comes across, and you know what that does? It comes across as joy-filled. It comes across as feeling self-assured. That's why in our society, don't listen to anybody. I love myself means that it will bring all the balance and equanimity into our lives. Does that make sense? Because when you have those qualities, that's what's going to happen. So how about y'all go out and write, I love myself. And just put that down everywhere you go. Because I always tell you guys this, but I'll put down something that I don't feel like I'm really good at. And the one thing I put down was, I used to say, gosh, I really don't like marketing. I hate it. It's not fun. So I wrote out an affirmation. I love marketing and it is fun. I put it on my computer. I put it on my car. I put it everywhere I could see it. Because then I knew that it would eventually come into my body. Well, what do you think Roxy and I do at the center all the time? We do marketing and we love it. So it really does work, if we work it. And the other thing is to just, and I want to close with this, because I want really, really be present to your intuition. Be present to what's around you. Because as you're present to your intuition, I was getting on the road and I have a totem, or crows, okay? And I'm, okay, if it's going to be good and that Montecito area is going to be open, you got to give me a sign. So seriously, they flew up, stopped in front of the road. This is all today, by the way. There were like 8 of them. And they're walking out in front. I go, okay, so it's safe? And they flew away. So that's really it. I mean, we have that connection to spirit, God, and divine all the time. But we probably don't notice it. You probably have little, I don't know, little hummingbirds come into your life. I don't know what it is that's going to get your attention. But that's the way God and spirit gets our attention. Oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life, God. Well, bring it on, baby. Just show me. And there's going to be, and I always say this, and this is how you use it. Bring the people, the circumstances, the books, the information, the classes, in order for me to know what my soul's purpose is. And I'm awake and aware. And that's pretty much what Ernest Holmes would say, John Randolph Price. And it really is being awake and aware, but present, instead of going, oh, pitiful me. That's not going to attract what we desire. We need to attract into our lives the gorgeous, positive energy. So every day, wake up and go, hey, God, bring it on. You know what that means? Bring me what I need for me and for my soul's purpose. Bring me what I am. You know my heart. You know me better than anybody. Bring it to me and show me. And that will allow you to expand and move out into the world so much more powerfully and beautifully, yes? So it really does work. So with that, let's see, we're gonna say it 3 times. I'm gonna close with this. We're gonna say, I love myself. Okay, so let's go. Hands out, and you're just gonna, and Diana does this, she does this. I love myself.
I love myself.
We're gonna do 5 times.
I love myself.
2 more.
I love myself.
And 1 more time. I really love myself. Yay! Fabulous. So go out, practice that, create those seeds of love for yourself, because nobody else is going to do it, baby. Because God loves you so much. But what we have to do is allow that, our hearts to open, for us to love ourselves, and then the divine can even show us more, yeah?
Yes.
So enjoy your week, blessings, and enjoy these rainy days.
Okay.
And safe travels, exactly.